Good afternoon, everybody. Phil Simons with Columbia Grain here, and your Friday afternoon weekly grain market recap. Well, let's go ahead and get right into it because we actually did have some fresh fundamental data this week as the April USDA supply and demand numbers did come out on Thursday. So let's go ahead and share my screen with you again here, and we're going to navigate over to our favorite website, columbiagrain.com. And in the upper right-hand section, we can navigate over to the Producer Solutions tab, and that'll take us over to our Producer Solutions link. But if we take a look at where the April USDA supply and demand numbers actually came in at this week, we can see that we can continue to have really more of a build of stocks in both the U.S. and in the world, quite honestly, for commodity stocks. But let's take a look at the U.S. at the very top here. We see that the corn number for April came in at just over 2 billion bushels, at 2.1 billion bushels. It would actually be a little bit of a decline from last month's numbers, down about 2%, but still, really over 2 billion bushels could definitely be viewed as burdensome as we continue to move forward here. Now, when we look at soybeans, the number came in at 340 million bushels. Again, a continued build in stocks for old crop, up about 8% from last month for soybeans as well. We take a look at wheat, and this is all wheat class. It actually came in at 698 million bushels, which would be up about 4% from last month's numbers as well. When we look at the world production, we take a look at Brazil, corn, and soybeans. Actually, really not a change at all when we look at the overall world production there. With Argentina for corn, we can see it's actually down about 1 million metric tons from last month's numbers, which would be equivalent to about a 2% decline from last month's numbers. And for soybeans in Argentina, continue to posting a 50 million metric ton crop there from the USDA standpoint, at least. So we continue to look at those numbers and really seeing what the end implications could potentially be. When we look at the world stocks for 23-24, we see corn still coming in at 318 million metric tons, which when we compare that to last month, it is continuing a build of another increase of 6% there. With soybeans, actual number came in at 114 million metric tons, which would be a 12% increase from last month. And wheat was the only thing that actually showed a net decline in change anyway from last month at 258 million metric tons, which was down about 5% from last month's numbers. So again, we continue to see a build of pretty much everything across the globe when it comes to the overall commodity complex. When we take a look and we break it down a little bit further from there, when we look at soybeans in the U.S. For old crop, we do see that the major change that they had in this week's report was actually coming from a change in exports. Last month, they were thinking that we were going to see 1.72 billion bushels for U.S. soybeans exported. This month, they did cut it by 20 million bushels, which, when we take a look at the seed and the feed and then the residual, the net change actually did increase our carryout number month on month by 25 million bushels. So we can see where they actually made that change in the soybeans was by a cut in the potential exports for old crop anyhow. And same thing when we look at the old crop corn balance sheet, we can actually see they reduced our carryout by 50 million bushels month on month. And you can see that that was really coming from a change in ethanol and also the feed and residual. But the net change is actually a reduction of 50 million bushels in the corn complex. When we take a look at the wheat balance sheet, similar fashion, to beans, we actually did see an increase in carryout for the U.S. on old crop wheat, actually increasing by 25 million bushels month on month. And again, the change came from a reduction in potential feed usage for wheat. So again, just a continued build from where we were last month for the U.S. anyway. The other thing, that we're going to continue to look at here is going to be the weather as we move forward, and how are we stacking up this year versus last year. The map on your left-hand side is where we're at currently for the U.S. So really not a whole heck of a lot to be concerned of. There is some pockets in Iowa and in Northeast Iowa that look to be, relatively dry. Something to continue to monitor as we move forward, especially for corn, and if that will continue to expand or if they'll start to see some relief in that area. But when we really look at the overall U.S. this year compared to the map on your right-hand side, you can see that there is a significant change and a significant difference to the overall drought concerns that we have. And right now, the markets, I would say we really do not have any form of a weather premium built into the markets, and quite honestly, rightfully so, as there's really not much to be too overly concerned of at this juncture. But again, definitely something to continue to monitor as we move forward. The other thing that we saw this week was the planting intentions, or not the planting intentions, but the good to excellent ratings and the crop conditions report. We do see that spring wheat actually percent planted this week is actually coming in at 3% planted. Last week we were at 1%, and the 5-year average is right at 3%. So we're really right on track with the 5-year average for spring wheat plantings. And then you can see over on the right-hand side how they're stacking up by state. Next, if we take a look at corn percent planted, same thing. We're at 3% planted this week. When we take a look at where we were last year, and also the 5-year average at 2%. Then you can also see, right, what states are actually getting corn planted at this juncture as well. The other thing that we're looking at and going to continue to monitor as we go forward is going to be that winter wheat ratings, your good to excellent conditions. Right now, we're at 56% good to excellent, same as where we were last week, so no change there. But again, a significant increase from where we were last year at this time at 27%. And then you can also see, right, how we're stacking up by state on the good to excellent ratings in the U.S. But net, this week, how did we actually fare in terms of market action and on the futures prices? You can see that new crop specifically for corn, we actually had a weekly range of 10 cents. We actually closed the week out with just a net gain of 1 penny there. Soybeans for new crop, we had an overall weekly range of 33 cents. We actually closed the week out with a net loss of 10 cents in new crop beans. We turn a page and look at the wheat complex. It was a little bit of a mixed bag, quite honestly. Kansas City, September actually had a 20-cent range. Actually closed the week out with a net gain of 3 cents. In Chicago in September, we actually had a 24-cent range. And actually closed the week out with a net loss of 14 cents over there. And in Minneapolis, we had a weekly range of 25 cents and had a net loss of 7 cents in Minneapolis as well. So again, just continue to make sure to look at new crop and what types of opportunities that we have out there for contracting. And that could be hedge to arrive contracts, it could be accumulator contracts, basis contracts, or cash contracts as well. Just be sure to get your orders out there and working, because the knee-jerk reactions that we continue to have seen over the last 1.5 to 2 years, quite honestly, will continue to magnify. And we just need to make sure that we have our orders out there and working to take advantage of the markets, regardless of what we're doing. That is the beauty of a good till cancel order, is that it does work for you, regardless of what you're doing. So other than that, just be sure to reach out to your local managers and buyers and merchandisers, get your orders out there and working. So we are going to go ahead and wrap everything up for the weekend here. I want everybody to have a great week. And remember that the market is not logical. It is psychological. Have a great weekend, everybody. We'll talk with you next week.